Bullies messed with the wrong kid. Epic school fight. What if the kid everyone mocked was hiding a secret that would change everything? In school, there are two types of students: those who follow the rules and those who break them. But what happens when bullies pick the wrong target, when they think they can humiliate someone without consequences, only to realize they've made a terrible mistake? This is the story of Lucas, a boy who was always the bully's favorite victim. They laughed at him, stole his lunch, and humiliated him every single day. But what they didn't know was that Lucas wasn't just any kid. He was about to turn fear into strength, and his revenge would be legendary. Stay until the end to find out how an ordinary student became the bully's worst nightmare. You won't believe what happened in that fight. Lucas had always been an easy mark. He was smaller than most kids his age, quiet, and preferred to stay out of trouble. While other boys played soccer during recess, he sat alone, sketching superheroes in his notebook. His clothes weren't the trendiest, his backpack was old, and he never fought back when someone pushed him around. That's why the school bullies loved tormenting him. Ryan, the leader of the group, was the worst of them all. Tall, strong, and always surrounded by his gang, he saw Lucas as the perfect victim. Every day, Ryan found a new way to humiliate him, knocking his books out of his hands, tripping him in the hallway, or making fun of his weird drawings. One afternoon, as Lucas walked past the lockers, Ryan and his gang blocked his path. "Where do you think you're going, nerd?" Ryan sneered, grabbing Lucas's backpack. "Got anything interesting in here? Maybe some love letters to your imaginary girlfriend?" His friends burst into laughter as Ryan unzipped the bag and dumped its contents onto the floor. Papers, pencils, and Lucas's notebooks scattered everywhere. The worst part? His sketchbook, filled with drawings of warriors and superheroes, landed right at Ryan's feet. Ryan picked it up and flipped through the pages. "Wow, look at this, guys. Little Lucas thinks he's some kind of comic book artist. Hey, maybe one day you can draw yourself some muscles." The hallway echoed with cruel laughter. Lucas clenched his fists but didn't say a word. He had learned long ago that fighting back only made things worse, but what nobody knew was that something inside him was already changing. This time, he wasn't just going to take it. This time, he was going to fight back. At Westwood High, Ryan and his gang ruled the school like kings. Teachers turned a blind eye, either too afraid or too indifferent to stop them. The other students, they just stayed out of their way, hoping not to become the next target. Lucas had been dealing with their torment for years. He had learned to keep his head down, to walk fast, to avoid eye contact, but no matter what he did, it was never enough. Every day, Ryan and his crew found a new way to make his life miserable. They stole his lunch money, they shoved him into lockers, they spread rumors about him, and worst of all, nobody did anything. It was like an unspoken rule: you don't mess with Ryan. But Lucas was getting tired of feeling helpless, tired of being afraid. And without even realizing it, something inside him was beginning to shift. The day of his ultimate humiliation was just around the corner. And after that, nothing would ever be the same again. It happened on a Friday. The school was buzzing with excitement. Everyone was ready for the weekend, but for Lucas, it was just another day of surviving. As he walked into the cafeteria, tray in hand, he felt it before he even saw them. The bullies were watching. Ryan smirked from across the room, whispering something to his gang. Then, just as Lucas reached his usual lonely table, it happened. A foot shot out. Lucas never saw it coming. His body lurched forward, the tray flying from his hands. Splat! Food spilled everywhere. Mashed potatoes smeared across his shirt. A half-eaten sandwich stuck to his hair. The cafeteria went silent for half a second before exploding into laughter. Ryan clapped his hands. "Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Lucas, the human garbage disposal." Tears burned behind Lucas's eyes, but he refused to let them fall. He pushed himself up, wiping food from his face as the humiliation settled deep in his chest. Ryan wasn't done. "Hey, don't waste it, dude. Here, have some more." He grabbed a carton of milk and dumped it over Lucas's head. The cafeteria roared. Phones were out, recording every second. This wasn't just bullying anymore. This was public execution. Lucas stood there, dripping, fists clenched so tightly his nails dug into his palms. And that was the moment something inside him finally snapped. Ryan and his gang thought they had broken him. They had no idea what was coming. That night, Lucas didn't sleep. He lay in bed, replaying the humiliation over and over in his mind. The laughter, the milk dripping down his face, the flashing phone cameras. He had never felt rage like this before, not just at Ryan and his gang, but at himself, for being weak, for letting them do this to him. But that was about to change. The next day, Lucas made a decision. He was going to learn how to fight. But where? The school's boxing club? No, Ryan and his friends were there. A gym? He had no money for that. Then he remembered something. There was a small, rundown dojo at the edge of town. People said it was owned by an old man who rarely took students. Most thought he was just a crazy ex-fighter who had seen better days. Lucas didn't care. He showed up at the dojo that evening, stepping into the dimly lit space. The walls were cracked, the floorboards worn from years of training. In the center of the room stood a man in his 60s, with scars on his knuckles and eyes that had seen war. The old man looked Lucas up and down. "You don't belong here, kid. I need to learn how to fight." The man chuckled. "Go sign up for a karate class." Lucas shook his head. "I don't have time for that. I don't want belts. I don't want trophies. I want to fight." For the first time, the old man's expression changed. He studied Lucas carefully. "Come back tomorrow," he finally said. "Let's see if you're serious." Lucas didn't hesitate. This was the beginning of his transformation. Ryan and his gang had no idea, but the next time they crossed paths, Lucas wouldn't be the same kid anymore. The next morning, Lucas was at the dojo before sunrise. The old man, who introduced himself as Mr. Takeda, didn't waste time. He didn't give Lucas fancy speeches about honor or discipline. He made him work. "Fight? You can't even stand properly," Takeda scoffed. Again! Day after day, Lucas trained harder than he ever had in his life. His body ached, his knuckles bled, but he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. He learned how to move, how to strike, how to defend. Takeda taught him techniques that were brutal, efficient, and real. "This is not for sport, boy," Takeda warned. "This is for survival." A month passed. Lucas was no longer the weak kid who got shoved into lockers. He had changed, inside and out. His posture was different. His eyes were sharper. And for the first time, he wasn't afraid. Monday morning, he walked through the school doors like a different person. The halls were the same. The students were the same. But Lucas was something else. And Ryan was about to find out the hard way. Lucas didn't go looking for Ryan. He didn't have to. By lunchtime, word had spread. Lucas was back, and something about him was different. Ryan and his gang spotted him near the lockers. Lucas was alone as usual, but this time he wasn't slouching. He wasn't avoiding eye contact. He stood tall, confident, unshaken. Ryan smirked. "Look who's back. Thought we scared you off, loser." Lucas didn't respond. He just stared. Ryan didn't like that. "Oh, you got a little attitude now, huh? Guess we need to remind you who's in charge." The gang closed in, shoving Lucas against the lockers. But this time, Lucas didn't flinch. Ryan reached for his collar, but the moment his hand moved, everything changed. In a flash, Lucas grabbed Ryan's wrist and twisted it hard. Crack! Ryan yelped in pain. Before anyone could react, Lucas struck, a sharp elbow to the ribs, a precise kick to the knee. Ryan stumbled back, gasping, shocked, furious. Terrified, the cafeteria went dead silent. No one had ever seen anyone fight back against Ryan. One of Ryan's friends lunged at Lucas. Bad idea. Lucas dodged, countered, and sent him crashing into a table. The rest of the gang, they didn't even try. Ryan, humiliated and gasping for breath, stared at Lucas. What the hell? Lucas stepped forward, looking him dead in the eyes. You messed with the wrong kid. Ryan knew at that moment his reign was over. Ryan staggered back, holding his ribs, his face pale. For the first time in his life, he wasn't the predator. He was the prey. The entire cafeteria watched in stunned silence. Phones were out, recording every second. But this time, Lucas wasn't the one being humiliated. Ryan's gang hesitated, unsure of what to do. Their leader had just been beaten. Lucas didn't throw another punch. He didn't have to. He had already won. Ryan's breathing was shaky, his hands trembled, but his pride wouldn't let him back down. You think this changes anything? He spat. You're still nothing. Lucas tilted his head, calm. Then why are you the one shaking? Ryan's fists clenched, his face turned red, but he didn't move. He wouldn't dare. A voice from the crowd cut through the tension. Leave him alone, Ryan. Lucas turned, surprised. It was Jake, one of Ryan's own friends. Then another voice. Yeah, man, this is pathetic. More and more students started speaking up. Ryan had ruled with fear, but fear only lasts until someone stands up. Now, the whole school had seen him lose. Ryan's shoulders sank. He looked around, realizing he had no power anymore. Without another word, he turned and stormed out. His gang hesitated, then followed. Their reign was over. Lucas took a deep breath. The weight he had carried for so long, gone. As he grabbed his backpack and walked away, students nodded at him, some even clapping. For the first time ever, Lucas wasn't invisible. He wasn't a victim. He was a fighter, and no one would ever mess with him again. What did you think of Lucas's transformation? Have you ever seen a bully get what they deserve? Tell us in the comments below.